right? Might as well. I'm walking through a ghost town, y'all ain't playing my sounds. Don't tell me to calm down, don't tell me to calm down. Only time I go backwards is when I wanna moonwalk. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. We are who we say that we are. You were lost in the stars, and it's all from the start. Never running no pace, never on the right page. But we still read that book, and we still run that race. Mississippi Racer riding out, no shortcuts, no time for that. Mississippi Racer riding out, till the wheels fall off, I'm driving that. Mississippi Racer riding out, we'll stop burning, strike the match. Mississippi Racer riding out, red light, green light, red light, good night. Ay, red light, green light, red light, good night. 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 No time to chill, don't sweat it.
Good morning and welcome. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network. Thank you so much for making us part of your morning routine. I am Chris, and of course, that over there, that is Mo. Mo, how are you on a Wednesday?
I'm doing great on a hump day. We finally have another finals game to look forward to tonight, so something to talk about, something to be excited about.
So let's start there, Mo. We got Game 3 tonight. Obviously, if you are a Celtics fan, everything is laid out in front of you. You are 2 games away from an NBA championship. You are 2 games away from really the first thing that this team can do to solidify their current window. They had the titles appearance a few years ago with the Warriors. It didn't go as planned despite being favorited in that. They've been to X amount of, conference games in X amount of years. They've done all these things, all these different accolades, consistently been a championship favorite in the East for the last 6, 7, 8 years, and no title. So 2 games away from potentially getting their first title in this window. So everything's kind of set up if you are a Boston fan. If you're a Dallas fan, I feel like this is almost the time of the series, Mo, where Dallas fans look at it and they go, well, we weren't supposed to be here. We weren't favorited going into the season to be in the finals. Even when the playoffs started, we were probably the 4th or 5th best option to go to the finals out of the West. It's great that we got, I feel like those are where we're kind of looking at. If you're Dallas, you're kind of like building in all the feel-good reasons to not be upset if you lose the finals. And they're not all wrong, Mo. No one thought the Mavs were going to be in the finals this season. When the playoffs started, no one predicted the Mavs were going to go to the finals. They really were the 3rd, 4th, 5th best option for a lot of people coming out of the West. Does Kristaps Porzingis not being there change anything? Let's start with that.
Yeah, obviously he's a big piece to what the Celtics do. Having a big that can keep the floor consistently spaced, and even when you close out to him, because he's 7'3", 7'4", and can shoot the way he does, it's a great impact on the game on offense. He's also a very good weak side rim protector as well. So yeah, it will impact the game for sure. Now, do I think that, well, if they don't have Porzingis, there's no way the Celtics can win? I don't feel like that at all. I just feel like without Porzingis, Dallas has a better opportunity. I still think the Celtics are going to win the series, but I think without Porzingis, yes, it opens up avenues for Dallas to penetrate more to the basket. And on defense, they don't have that mismatch of trying to play with a pick and pop 5. So that changes the dynamics right away. Although, to be fair, Al Horford does shoot the 3 well, but he isn't the same matchup problem because Al Horford is about 6'9", 6'10". Porzingis is 7'4" with long arms. It's a big difference.
Talk to me a little bit. Obviously, with the Celtics winning the series, the focus isn't necessarily on Jason Tatum, who, by the way, hasn't played great so far here in this finals. What needs to happen for him to get going? Not saying, clearly they're doing okay without him getting going. But ideally, if you're Boston, in the back of your mind, you got to be saying, man, if Tatum kind of gets it going the next couple of games, we got this. Like, there is no concern because once he's going and we're playing like this, we're all going. So what does Boston need to do to get Tatum back on track?
I just think they need him to come out and be more aggressive early in games. Already, like to be fair, he's not shooting well, but he has having no problem getting to the basket, whoever's in front of him. None of Dallas's wings can stay in front of him. So he's getting to the basket. And he is facilitating very well. What he's not doing is he's not finishing as well at the rim, and more importantly, the jump shot that he's known for, the step back, he's not shooting well from the perimeter. I just think they need him to be more aggressive. Look, he might very well just have one of those series where his shot's not consistently falling, but if he's consistently aggressive, that means he's probably getting to the paint. If he's living in the paint, good things are going to happen for him, his teammates, as well as him. I still think that he can be an effective player even with his shot not falling. But if he gets his jump shot falling, Chris, if Tatum has a game where let's say he drops 28 or 30, I think it offsets anything Luka does. It offsets, and then the advantage goes back to the Celtics for sure, because now you're talking about Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, White, Horford and company versus Kyrie, right? Kyrie and some role players. Advantage Celtics. So yes, if I'm a Celtics fan, I'm like, yes, this is the right time for Jason Tatum to have one of those 35-point outbreaks. It would be great. I just think he needs to be more aggressive. The opportunities there are there, the shot's not falling, and really, it looks like when he's shooting to get the shot off versus shooting with confidence, and that's a big difference.
And then, of course, the biggest question going into Game 3, Mo, is what is Dallas going to do? They're the team that is down 2-0. They're the team that has to come out of this hole. They're the team that has to get on the board and get themselves a win here in Game 3. So you at least have the conversation of, well, now they can tie it up in Game 4, as opposed to having the conversation of, well, now they got to have the greatest comeback in NBA Finals history, right. Which is not the conversation you want to have. So looking at the Dallas side of it, obviously it's simple enough to say, well, Kyrie's got to play better. And I think it is that simple. Kyrie does have to play better. You need to see some of that Batman Robin. You need to see Luka continually doing Luka things, but you also need to see Kyrie doing what he was doing at his peak in these previous series here in the playoffs. But outside of Kyrie playing better, what else needs to go right for Dallas over these next couple of games if they are going to even this series up in Dallas?
I think they need to play with more energy. I'm talking about their role players. Like, the Celtics aren't just winning this so far because they're the better team. They're also outworking Dallas. Like the 50-50 balls, the tough rebounds in the paint, taking charges, just being aggressive on both sides of the floor. So I think you need more from PJ Washington, Gafford, Derek Lively. Maybe you play Tim Hardaway Jr. in spot minutes to see if this is one of those games where he's on, because we know he's a terrific streak shooter. When he's on, he can easily drop 30 for you. But I think the consistent thing is they need that effort to where they're outworking Boston. I feel like they've been coasting. If you get a strong game from PJ Washington with Porzingis out, I do expect the lob threat to open up more. So I'm expecting a much more productive and impactful game from both Lively and Gafford. We know the stars are Kyrie and Luka. We know Luka is the best player on both teams. But if they make it just about Luka, I don't think they can win this series. I think Luka and Kyrie, look, combined, yes, I think they need to drop 60. But I think the rest of the team combined, and in whatever form they do it, they should be good for 50 themselves collectively. They've got to find a way to generate offense. I don't care if they're just attacking the basket and living at the free throw line. Whatever way you can generate offense, they can do that. Look, PJ Washington, I think, is better off the dribble than most people think. I think he could be an effective third scorer if he's shooting his corner threes and being aggressive. And I expect a double-double from both Lively and Gafford tonight. So I think that Dallas will come out guns a-blazing. The question is, can the Celtics match the energy? Because that's going to be the key, right? If they match their energy and they offset that, and we go into halftime and maybe Dallas is up 5 or it's a tie game, that'll say a lot about Boston on the road. But I think that if Dallas comes out early and Luka's on one of those rolls, Chris, where he starts jogging in place and he's looking to the face and he's talking, that's a good thing for Dallas. When Luka is talking and he's jogging, he's in his bag. He needs to get Kyrie to where he's at. If those two are going the way they can go, Dallas is going to win game 3.
Well, right now we're going to bring Will up here onto the stage. Will, how are you this morning, sir?
How you doing, guys? Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
What's up, Will?
How you doing, man?
Will, you just heard Mo talk about what Dallas needs to do to get back into the finals. What do you think they need to do to make it a run here at home to potentially even up the series? Or in your mind, is there anything they can do to even up the series at this point?
Big man's got to come through. Gaffer's going to have to come through. Lowry's going to have to come through. And we're going to need a better effort from Kyrie. I think that's what they would need to do. Luka's going to be Luka regardless. He took the loss. He took the blame for the last loss in that press conference. But I really think Kyrie's going to have to be the one that set the tone to come out strong. Big man's and the bench, PJ Washington, Mo mentioned it. He's got to get it going. It's got to be more to just Kyrie and Luka. That bench is going to have to do something to contribute because right now Boston's just coasting and on a roll, and everybody keeps talking about Porzingis being out. Al Horford has already shown he could be a capable backup and to give Boston what they need from that post position in terms of rebounding and defense. So if they can get PJ and the big men to be more active on the boards, if they can be more active on defense in terms of getting loose balls, getting rebounds, I think Dallas got a chance to win game 3.
Well, we've heard that Jimmy Butler is not going to leave Miami. Then we heard that there's a lot of teams interested, so teams might make a run for him. And now we're getting rumors this morning that the general consensus is most people feel like he isn't going anywhere. So if we live in a world next season where Jimmy Butler is still in Miami, what does Miami need to do to put a team around him that is better than a play-in team or is better than a 7th or 8th seed in the East type of team? Because it's great if you're Miami, if you're a Miami fan and Butler stays in Miami, but you don't want to sit there and come playoff time next season. You're like, all right, we're the 7th seed. Let's go get this. Let's make playoff Jimmy become playoff Jimmy again. Ideally, you want to be up there somewhere in the top 5 in the East if possible. So what does Miami need to do to make that happen?
I think they need to upgrade some key spots. I've never been a Tyler Hero guy. I've never been that dude. I've never been a huge quote unquote fan of Duncan Robinson. So I think they need to upgrade some positions and get some better depth behind Bam and Jimmy. And I think they can do. And I think they can do it because Pat Riley, look, as petty as he is a mastermind when it comes to the salary cap and player negotiations. So I think Miami can do it.
Mo, if Jimmy Butler is your 1, are you a championship team?
It's an interesting question because he's proven that he's good enough as a 1 to lead you to 2 finals. I think the question with Jimmy is not with Jimmy is Bam Adebayo a championship number 2? And I think Bam is a terrific player, but I don't think he's a championship 2. I think he's a championship 3. They need another star. They need someone else that can give you 25 on a given night. And I think they need a wing. They need a wing that can drop 25 on a given night and offset or take some of the load off of Jimmy Butler. But you know what? Talent-wise, you would say, well, Paul George could be a number 1 on a title-winning team. But if we were going to talk about I'm trying to make a point. But if we were talking about what you have in your chest, what you do when it matters most, Jimmy Butler's a number 1 on a championship on a title contender. Paul George is more talented than Jimmy Butler, but I would never take Paul George over Jimmy Butler. Yep. He's a natural Robin for whatever reason. They need a Robin to Jimmy Butler. I love Bam Adebayo and what he does for them, but I think he's Alfred, not Robin.
Hey, I'm still because I've never been a Hero guy. I've never been a Duncan. Do you think they can trade those 2 players, Mo, to get somebody to fill that role?
I think you could trade them, and I'm sure Pat Riley's looking into that, but you have to have a trade partner that's receptible to that idea. Like I don't think you could get a Donovan Mitchell for a package of Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson.
No.
But you might be able to get somebody like a Brandon Ingram. But then I would still ask the question, I think BI is nice, but in bringing in BI, you would just have you would have 2 number 3s and still not a number 2, in my opinion.
Good point.
Well, the Oklahoma City Thunder apparently are quite interested in Isaiah Hartenstein. It's great to be interested in people. We all know how this works, right? Like the Philadelphia 76ers are interested in the entire possible NBA free agent world, as well as anyone who could be up for a trade. The Lakers are always linked to everyone who might be moved or might be a free agent. It's great to be linked or interested in people, but being interested in getting them are different stories. What do you make of the OKC interest in Hartenstein and then the actual possibility of them getting him?
He fits the youth movement. He's only 26. And he helps and he can help with depth. And I think he's somebody that they could acquire with all the assets that they have. I don't see why they couldn't swing a deal to get him. Like I say, he'd be good depth behind Chet. So we'll see. But I think it's a good move for them because it gives you that depth behind. It gives you another big. It gives you better depth.
Well, the talk of the town this week has been the Los Angeles Lakers and their head coaching situation. Obviously, it did not go well with Dan Hurley. Jay Wright's name has popped up. JJ Redick has been up and down. People are now saying they never really talked to Redick. People are now saying from Redick's camp that he's just trying to avoid the drama of the situation. They are attached to the assistant coach from the Pelicans. It's all over the map right now. And a new name that has emerged late afternoon yesterday was, should the Lakers just call Mark Jackson? Should that just be the phone call that they make? Which I think is like, isn't he the default name at some point on everyone's head coaching search when option
Every
one
year.
doesn't work
Every
out?
year.
Everyone's like, well,
Yep.
should we just call Mark Jackson? So, Will, let's start there. Talk to me about what you think the Mark Jackson fit would be in LA, and then talk to me overall about your opinion on where this LA Lakers coaching search has gone and where you think it's going to end up.
Lakers don't want to pay nobody. If you go back and look at that deal that they gave to Hurley, if you go back and look at that deal, that was a lowball deal. Because if you go back and look, in California, state taxes are really, really high, and that would have ate half that deal up. It comes down to like 11.5 a year. No, you got to pay people to go through that stress of trying to coach LeBron, trying to coach AD. You're coaching a dude who basically wants to be the coach, who basically is the coach for that team. No, that's going to be hard. As far as Mark Jackson is concerned, I think LeBron would show him respect. But Mark's been out of the system for a minute. It's a different NBA than when he was coaching before. Players have more power now. Players have more say-so in player movement. So it's a little bit of a different deal. I'm looking at, and I don't understand why his name's not being brought up more. I was looking at maybe a Sam Cassell for that job would be a good fit for the Lakers. I don't know why Sam keeps getting overlooked, and I don't know why.
Maybe not a big enough name.
Could be.
And you were being nice about Mark Jackson. Look, as a basketball guy, Mark Jackson should already have had another head coaching job. But and I'm sure you both will probably remember when he burnt bridges in Golden State. Those bridges, I mean, he burnt bridges, and GM to GM, they start talking, right? And pretty much, let's be assured, Mark Jackson's basically been blackballed. Like he's not going to be a head coach in the NBA. I think he knows that. For whatever reason, I've heard things talk about his faith or things of that nature. I remember the incident in Golden State where I think the front office came down to the practice and were making comments, and he ran the front office out of the practice. That takes a pair, but that's probably going to get you moved on. It's going to get you moved on. And again, like I said, just like NFL owners talk amongst themselves, you best believe NBA GMs go like, you don't want this guy because of this, or that. So I think Mark Jackson, like Chris said, we will always bring up the name. And when it's all said and done and the smoke clears, he will not have a job.
Nobody going to make that move. Nobody's going to be that suicidal, so to speak, to make that move.
I would just say this. If he doesn't have any kind of baggage that we don't know about, and it was just, well, he was hot-headed that one time and they didn't like it, I think everybody's deserving of a second chance.
Yes.
I don't know who's going to give him that second chance, but everybody's deserving of it. But back to what mentioning Sam Cassell, I think Sam Cassell has been an assistant for over a decade or more. Like knows the game inside and out. He's a 2-time champion. At some point, why not Sam Cassell? He's still young enough to where he can relate to players. So I think that he'd be able to cultivate his own culture in the locker room. I'm baffled. Chris and I talk about this a lot, Will. Maybe Sam is one of those guys. Chris, you appreciate this. He doesn't interview well. He doesn't sell himself well. I'm just saying. Sam Cassell has become the NBA's version of Eric Bieniemy.
Or maybe he carries himself, so he's just happy to be where he is as an assistant. I don't know, but he would be a better choice than JJ Redick would be.
Well, yeah, I figure anyone with any decent amount of experience is going to be better. And that's nothing against JJ. I mean, that's just the name of the game and the name of any job you're going into. Will, before we get you out of here, let's talk a little Bronny, shall we? He's been all over. He's been all over the last 2 weeks. He's going to go in the first round. He's going to go in the second round. He's not going to get drafted. The Lakers at 17, the Suns at 22, the Utah Jazz. It's been up, it's been down, it's been all around. And this morning, the feeling, according to several anonymous general managers in the NBA, is that he is going to go somewhere in the second round. Will, do you agree with that? Or do you think someone is going to be sitting there on draft night, looking at Bronny, looking at their pick, not seeing something they love, and just talking themselves into this Bronny, LeBron dream situation, and that results in them pulling the trigger and taking Bronny in the first round?
I think someone takes a chance on him. Phoenix might be the dummies who take a chance. He's not ready. He's not ready. He needs to stay another year in college. In my opinion, he's not ready. Best case scenario, in my opinion, he turns out to maybe be a good defender. But anything else, no. I don't see the incredible handles. I don't see the jump shot. I don't see the killer will for scoring. Even passing the basketball, I don't see it from Bronny. He needs to go back to college. He needs to get more seasoning, more polished in terms of knowing the game and getting all the nuances down before he moves on to that next level. But somebody will take a chance because, again, he's LeBron James' son. And, God ain't going to have it to where you get the talent and then your next born gets it too. A lot of times you get the talent and it skips, which is why I think Bryce might be the guy who should be in that spot.
Yeah, Bryce is the more talented son. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if he goes to Phoenix, is there any chance LeBron goes there with him?
That would be interesting.
That would be interesting. My only cause for pause is this: why it might help make LeBron feel better to play with his son and finish that overall goal. They're still not going to win a championship. And hold up, because I know I just made everybody in Phoenix just mad at me. But to me, even if you add Bron, it's still not enough. LeBron isn't the LeBron from the Miami Heat. This is a different LeBron James. This is a LeBron James who takes time off from playing defense. And that's just another ball handler on the floor who wants to do things his way. And you got Coach Bud there, and Coach Bud is a little old school. I don't know if that'll work with him. So I still don't think they win a championship, even if you add Bron.
If you get LeBron, though, doesn't he solve your point guard problems? Because he is a point guard, basically, right? Like he would run the offense. I don't know if they win a title, but I would push back on the idea that they wouldn't impact the West. You are talking about LeBron James still giving you, I believe it's like 26, 8 and 8. Kevin Durant giving you 28, 8 and like 5. Like, and then there's Booker. And while I don't really care much about Bradley Beal, but just those three and some role players, you don't think that would impact the West? Because look how the West folded out. Think about what you just said. Take the Phoenix team with LeBron James and play this current Mavs team. I love Luka and Kyrie. Phoenix is beating the Mavs.
Yeah.
I'm making a point. The Mavs are in the conference finals or in the NBA finals. Phoenix would beat this Mavs team. So that Phoenix team, it really comes down to matchups. I think the Nuggets would be a problem for that team, but I don't think the Timberwolves would because they really only have one terrific wing player. So it really is about matchups. I'm not saying in any way that LeBron's going to Phoenix, but
Of course.
he brings up a great point. The possibility is there.
I think that I still don't think they win a title. I just think that team is too off kilter, even with Bron, to win a title. And plus, if you go back and look at the injury history over the years for that team, and Bron himself missing games due to injury, I just don't think they would get over that hump. Again, you said it's matchups. Denver will give them complete chaos. But that team will have to stay healthy in order to get there, and I don't know if they do.
Well, thanks so much for coming on here every week. We appreciate you. Enjoy your day, sir.
You too. Thank you guys for having me on. Appreciate you. Have a good morning.
I think health, Mo, would be the biggest issue with that team. Could they all stay healthy? But would Bradley Beal as a 4? Would that do anything for him? Because we've seen him as a 2-3, and it's not, it doesn't blow the doors off for Mo. But what if he's a 4th option?
Honestly, I think he'd be terrific because so much pressure would be off of him, right? And he could pick his spots that way without having the pressure of being the second guy. The question with that team would be not could they play well together, because I think they could. If you're going to have a legitimate point guard, because that's what LeBron is, the question would be like, what would that salary cap look like?
Well, yeah, I mean, money is going to be an issue, but I mean, you put those 3 on the floor with Bron, Book, and KD. That's going to the Western Conference Finals, and then if they all stay healthy, and then you throw in a Beal, Beal would easily be the best 4 in the league at that point.
Suddenly, instead of him taking heat, we're talking about like they got Bradley Beal and right.
Easily, he's the best 4 in the league.
I agree.
All right, Mo, let's get the NFL genius himself. It's Wednesday, which means Gene is coming in to hang out with us. Gene, you know what's super intriguing to me? Every other guest that we bring on this show, they just, they cooperate and they go right on the bottom next to their logo. You are the only one that never goes to the bottom. You just go right up there. Oh, okay, whatever. Gene, how are you this morning, sir?
I'm phenomenal. I feel great. Had a rough championship series last night for softball. 3-game battle war. I'm sore, but I play hurt.
I'm assuming you guys lost.
Yeah, we lost in 3. It's 3-game series. We lost in 3.
Gene, let's start with the black and yellow. Let's start with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They extend Mike Tomlin. And this is not going to be a conversation necessarily that I want to criticize Mike Tomlin, because I think Mike Tomlin is one of the greatest head coaches in NFL history. But they extend Mike Tomlin. It's all these feel-good things. You see pictures of when he signed his first deal to where he's signing his current deal. And then after the extension, all this talk comes out about this Super Bowl potential roster that the Pittsburgh Steelers have. And I'm like, okay, all right. I get it. We're all feeling good about ourselves. We're all kind of in our bag in Pittsburgh right now with all this good juju. But, Gene, then you have to kind of look at the NFL landscape. You have to look at what's happening in the AFC. So let's start first, because this was very much a team a couple of seasons ago where even Pittsburgh Steelers fans were like, it might be time for a change. It might be time for some new blood in there. Mike's been here a while. Sometimes even great coaches kind of wear out their welcome when they've been here for decades, just because you need a new voice in the room. So let's start with the extension. Would you have extended Tomlin if you were the Pittsburgh Steelers, given the current state of the team?
I hate this question, and I'll tell you why I hate it. Because I never, ever, ever want to criticize Mike Tomlin. I am of the emphasis of, like I really am of the notion that we need more African American coaches in the NFL. So like to take what I believe is one of the best ones and say they shouldn't extend him or he doesn't deserve to stay where he's at. I look at this like Andy Reid in Philadelphia. Like it was, and everyone, criticized Philadelphia when Andy Reid walked out the door, like, be careful what you're losing because he's just incredible. But like he outwars welcome. And his voice was getting very stale in the locker room. And what a lot of people don't remember is he finished his last 2 seasons 8-8. He had the 1 year where he went 4-8, and then they won their last 4 games, and they gave him another year. He went 8-8 again, and then the Eagles moved on from him. I think he's probably would I have extended him? Probably not. But I want Mike Tomlin to have a head coaching job in the NFL. I don't want him to be unemployed for 1 day. So, like, it's a really tough question to ask me. But I'll start with saying that I think that I would like to see him coaching somewhere else.
Now let's talk about the Super Bowl roster that the Pittsburgh Steelers have. What kind of merit do you put into that?
Well, defensively, they do. Defensively, they have the ability to be the best defense in football this year. I want you to think about the defensive unit that they have. They have Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, Patrick Queen, Joey Porter Jr. has been incredible, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Larry Ogunjobi. That team defensively is, in my opinion, a top 3 roster in all football. So where did they lack last year? They lacked the offensive line. They lack quarterback play. So what do you go out and do? You get 2 mobile quarterbacks that can kind of hide an offensive line. And if they get good offensive play, if they get average offensive play, if Russell Wilson or Justin Fields are good quarterbacks, I think their Super Bowl window is 2-3 years. I think that next year or the following year, they could be competing for a Super Bowl, particularly with that defense. So that offense doesn't need to be amazing. Very similar to San Francisco's. That offense doesn't need to be amazing when their defense dominates. They do lack a Kyle Shanahan, though. They don't have that offensive mind. They hired Arthur Smith to be their offensive coordinator. That's not who I'd hire as OC.
Well, and that was my last question for you with the Steelers, Gene, is that when you have a defensive-minded head coach, and we all agree on this panel that Mike Tomlin is one of the greatest NFL coaches of all time, but he is a defensive-minded head coach. And we saw at times last season as they were going through their bumps with their quarterback situation, obviously any team is going to struggle when at some point you're playing your third-string quarterback. Things aren't going well at that point. But a lot of times the transition looks easier when your offensive coordinator is a top-tier OC. So you look at their offensive coordinator this season, and you have to ask yourself, is that the guy that's going to get them over the hump? Because that's kind of been the question the last couple of seasons, because Pittsburgh is always known for having a good to great defense. You look at for the most part, the entire Mike Tomlin regime, the defense has been their staple. He gets his side of the ball right. The question more often than not with the Steelers is, well, Ben's getting older. What can the offense do? Ben's gone. Who's going to come in here and really elevate it next? That's kind of where we still are. And these conversations started years ago as Ben started to kind of decline a little bit. And we're still having those conversations today. Oh, well, Russ is in there, but what is he really? When are they going to start Fields? And can he be as electric as we think he is going to be? But more importantly, can they use him the way he should be used? Because you can have the greatest offensive weapon at the quarterback position, but if your offensive coordinator doesn't know how to use him, Gene, and he's just trying to have him be a pocket passer, well, that's not going to look exactly what you want it to look like. So is their offensive coordinator going to get them to where they need to go? Or is it going to be a situation where they're gone next season?
If I was going to give a knock to Mike Tomlin and the Steelers organization, it would be this. Most defensive-minded head coaches hire an offensive coordinator, and they work hand in hand with their offensive coordinator. In Pittsburgh for years, it's been very simple. The offense complements the defense. We're going to give our defense time. We're going to run the football. We're going to extend possessions to give our defense rest. We're going to play field position. Whereas the offensive minds in the NFL want to move the ball, want to have X plays that change the outcome of the game. And I think in Pittsburgh, them hiring Arthur Smith and not going out and getting an Eric Bieniemy tells you everything that you want to know. Arthur Smith was the offense coordinator for the Tennessee Titans. That offense was 100% complimentary of that Mike Vrabel defense. That's what it was. It was Ryan Tannehill run the ball to Derrick Henry, a little play action, but we're going to play field position. We're going to play smart, and we're going to limit our turnovers. And that's what Pittsburgh does. They do the same thing. They're going to limit turnovers. They're going to run the ball, and they're going to say that our defense can stop your offense more than your defense can stop ours. I don't like that for Pittsburgh, and I don't think that's a recipe to win a Super Bowl. The reason why San Francisco works so well is because you have an offensive-minded head coach that allows the defense to dictate what the defense does. When you have a defensive-minded head coach, you need to hire an offense coordinator that can run his offense the way he'd like it. And my personal opinion is Arthur Smith's not that guy for Pittsburgh.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to go through some of the current either actual NFL holdouts or the perceived to be NFL holdouts because they want a new contract. And we are just going to go panic or calm the F down. That's what we're going to do. So I'll give you both the name and you will say, yep, they can panic, or everyone just needs to calm the F down because we're going to be okay. Mo, let's start with you. You know who I'm going with. You know who the guy is. He's the reason. He's the reason the Niners have been to Super Bowls, all right? It is Brandon Ayuk himself. He clearly wants a deal. He is clearly not happy with what is going on in San Francisco. And, you know, we saw the deal with CMC, and now CMC's on the cover of Madden. You know, he's getting all the shine over there. Mo, panic or calm the F down when it comes to Brandon Ayuk?
Calm the F down. They're going to be fine. I say that in this light, he doesn't make or break the offense. He's a good player, but if he wasn't there, I think the offense would run pretty much the same way.
Calm the F down. Calm the F down. Because I look, I said this on previous shows. I think Brandon Ayuk is the most overrated wide receiver one in the NFL. I don't think he's elite. And I would rather have Deebo Samuel as a football player on my team than Brandon Ayuk. And with Kyle Shanahan's system, I believe it's plug and play.
And we just talked about Pittsburgh. We just talked about Cameron Hayward. He is in his mid-30s. He has skipped some OTAs. He has said that he is looking for a new contract. We don't know how far he is going to push it, but given his age and his injury history, this would be the time before the season starts to get that deal done. Gene, Cameron Hayward pushing for a new contract at this age, already skipping some of the stuff. Panic or calm the F down?
I'll calm the F down. And I'll tell you why. Because Cameron Hayward's skipping a lot of OTAs because he's older and he wants to be healthy. And this is what a lot of veteran players do. And he could say he's asking for more money. And I'm sure the Steelers will give him a couple guaranteed dollars after they get their salary cap structured. I don't think that's a problem for them. I calm the F down there.
Mo?
Calm the F down. Vets don't want to do all these OTAs.
It's fact.
True story. We saw the deal for Justin Jefferson. We know the other pieces that are going to fall. One of them is Jamar Chase, Mo. Chase skipped OTAs. He did show up this week to some team things, so he is around the team. But we all know that if this contract doesn't come together or feel like it's coming together over the next few weeks, he will probably go back to the stance he took initially, which was not be around so much. And we know that he deserves the deal. And we know it's going to be a huge deal. Mo, Jamar Chase, panic or calm the F down?
Calm the F down. I think they will eventually get a deal done. If Jamar Chase isn't his own best advocate, I'm sure Joe Burrow is his next best advocate. They'll get it done.
Oh, they're gonna pay Jamar Chase 100%. But I'm not commenting. I'm hitting a red panic button here, and I'll tell you why. Look, if I'm a Bengals fan, I'm fearful. Joe Burrow is trying to recover from a wrist injury. He's talking about grappling with mortality. Yep. If I'm a Bengals fan, that team is falling apart. This seems they are one injury or two away from being the worst team in football. Let's say Joe Burrow pulls an Andrew Luck. I'm not trying to be rude when I say this. Very intelligent guy. He's got a ton of money. I love Joe Burrow. It's just the injuries are piling up. And if he can't stay on the field and Jamar Chase isn't paid, that team's going to stink. I would not be surprised if that team won 5 games this year. Now, I also won't be surprised if they win 13 and win the division. But if I'm a Bengals fan, I'm red. Panic, panic, panic.
And it's not just that the injuries are piling up. It's the injuries that are making him miss huge chunks of the seasons that are piling up. Like, you have your quarterbacks who are always dinged up, but he is a quarterback who is getting injured and not playing as a result of it. Gene, same team, T. Higgins. T. Higgins wants out. He wants a new deal. He wants something. And we basically have confirmation through him and his agent. They're not even talking to him about numbers. They haven't really had a legitimate contract conversation with him in months and months and months right now. So it doesn't look like anything new is coming his way as far as money is concerned, which means the only option he has left is to choose not to be there and choose not to play. Gene, panic or calm the F down?
Like I said, the Bengals as a whole need to be on full panic mode. And I'm going to tell you why. They have the cheapest owner in all of professional sports. Every year when they grade facilities, they're near the bottom. Washington's the worst, right? Then the Bengals are right behind them. Their facilities are terrible. Their owner is terrible. He will not spend the extra money that owners like Jerry Jones, Stephen Ross, Jeffrey Lurie will spend to be able to guarantee money for players. If I'm in Cincinnati, man, I'm in full panic mode, and I'm hoping and praying that this guy sells the team. They need a new owner there because organizational issues are the rips at the seams for that team.
What do you think, Mo?
I'd panic. It's funny because we talk about Joe Burrow being the second best quarterback in football when he's on the field, but I think everything that goes on at the top, I'm talking about with management and ownership, I think that trickles down. And it does impact the foundation of your roster of your team. Gene could be right. They could easily turn around and be one of the worst teams in football if one thing goes to the left or right. It's so strange to be saying that, but that's a very real possibility. So definitely panic.
And Gene, the last one is a name that you are going to be familiar with. It is Haason Reddick.
I was expecting someone else.
Haason Reddick wants his money, and he has not shown up yet because he wants his money. He has also made it pretty clear that he's not showing up until he gets his money. Gene, panic or calm the F down?
I mean, I don't panic if I'm the Jets because I think he's a luxury piece. But here's the thing I want to point out about this Haason Reddick thing. Did the Jets not know he was looking for a new contract when they traded for him?
Exactly.
Like, how did you not know that? Like, I've never in a million years have seen a player. Like, do you remember when A.J. Brown got traded to the Philadelphia Eagles and immediately got a new contract? Like, I never have seen a player get traded because he's in a contract negotiation with a team, go to another team, and they're like, oh, wait, you wanted a new contract? Like, what's going on here? Like, I've never seen, and like, you got to give Howie Roseman his credit. He replaced him with Bryce Huff, who is their edge rusher from the Jets, then traded Reddick there, got a second-round pick back, and Reddick's not even playing for the Jets. Now, I don't panic because I think the Jets' defense, I think it's a luxury piece. I think obviously Haason Reddick puts them over the top. He's a monster, but they have an incredible defense. I don't panic because Haason will be there, and I think they'll eventually pay him.
Mo?
Calm the F down. I was going to be calm just because of what the defense was without him. So yeah, I say calm the F down.
Can I ask you a quick question though, Chris?
Yeah, you can.
You said that was the last one. What about CeeDee Lamb?
They're going to pay. I think they're going to pay. Now you're probably going to kill me for this, Gene. I think you're going to absolutely kill me for this. I think they're going to pay CD. So I agree. I think they're going to do it, and I think it is what it is. But here's my question to you.
Sure.
What if they don't? What if they say to themselves, what if they look at the draft? What if they look at the quarterbacks who are available in free agency coming up? What if they look at Trey Lance? What if they look at, whatever options are available for quarterback for the next 3 or 4 years? And they say to themselves, we think we're better with Dak. And they say, we're not gonna sign CD. We're not gonna trade him for a bag of chips, but we're gonna trade CD. We're gonna get a 1 back. we're going to try to get a 2 receiver. And then we're going to do what we can, because we've seen teams with 2s and not a legitimate 1 make the playoffs and have success. And we think that we would rather be in that situation than be in a situation where we're trying to replace Dak next year, which could potentially set us back 2 or 3 years. Now, I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, because, I think we've seen what Dak is. We know what Dak's ceiling is. And I think he needs a number 1 receiver if he's going to be successful. So I fully buy into that argument. But at the same time, Gene, I think I can be convinced of the argument of, don't you want to have the quarterback as opposed to not have the quarterback? And if you don't think the quarterback is there, can you let him walk out the door?
So here's the thing, right? Dallas has 3 players that are all like ready for historic contracts, and they can only afford 2 of them.
Exactly.
And there's going to be an odd man out of that situation. Now, I think it should be Dak if I'm Dallas. And I think I see what I have with Trey Lance and draft a quarterback, and that's just kind of where I go. I'm not letting CeeDee Lamb or Micah Parsons walk out the door. You could make an argument. You have the best offensive skill position player and the best defensive player in the entire league on one roster, and the argument is to pay Dak in front of them. I'm good. I'll pay the other 2. And if CeeDee Lamb holds out and doesn't play or doesn't get in camp and they don't pay him, that is a huge problem for Dallas. Dallas is already ripping at the seams now. If CeeDee Lamb's not in camp, if CeeDee Lamb's not there, you could just mark them in as 8 and 9 and not making the playoffs, because that's where they'll be.
Where should his deal be in relation to Jefferson?
It's going to be the same thing, if not more, because wide receivers set the market. And CeeDee Lamb had a much better season than Justin Jefferson did last year. Much better. And if you remember in that draft, CeeDee Lamb was drafted 17th. Justin Jefferson was drafted 21st. I know that because the Philadelphia Eagles drafted Jalen Reagor. Sorry.
No, it's okay. You're not over it. I get it. Let's say CD signs first and he resets the market. Where does Chase fall?
Chase is going to ask for just as much money as CeeDee Lamb. And the Bengals have to get creative with that, because you can't keep paying receivers more and more. $35 million a year for a receiver is insanity.
Correct.
And that's what Jett has just got. Yeah. I mean, I would walk into contract negotiations with CeeDee Lamb like, listen, we'll give you the same thing. We'll add $1. You could be the highest receiver.
Because isn't that what it is? They want to be the highest.
Yep.
So we'll make you the highest, but we're not going to put you 3 or 4 million. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. All right, Gene, before you get out of here, we're going to go real quick. We're going to go division by division, and you and Mo are going to do just one thing: the team you are most concerned about in each division, okay? And it could be for any reason. But as we are heading out of OTAs, we are ramping things up in the offseason. Division by division, who are you most concerned about? Mo, we're going to start with you in the NFC West, the Niners, the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Cardinals. Of those 4 teams, who are you most concerned about going into the season?
I'm most concerned about the Rams, because I think if they're whole, they could be one of the scariest teams in the entire conference. And because the Niners struggle with their secondary, I think Matthew Stafford, fully healthy with that receiving core, with that run game, with that young defense that's going to be that much better, I think the Rams are legit contenders, not just in that division, but in the conference.
Gene?
I'm most concerned with the Rams also for the exact opposite thing. I think losing Aaron Donald and Raheem Morris is going to be a huge issue for that team. I wouldn't be shocked if they finished in the cellar in that division. Matthew Stafford is a stud, but if you have no defensive juggernaut to anchor your defense, and a lot of people talk about Kobe, and Kobe was great as a defensive tackle for that Rams team, but it's really easy to be great when you have Aaron Donald playing right next to you, drawing a double team every single play. I think that Rams defense could be awful this year with losing Raheem Morris and Aaron Donald.
Gene, how about the NFC North? Bucks, Saints, Falcons, Panthers.
The South. I would go. My most concerned team would be the Buccaneers, because they believe that Baker Mayfield's the answer, and they and listen, he was the answer last year. He's not the answer long term, and he won't be the answer long term. The Buccaneers most concern me because they're in salary cap hell right now. Yep. They have aging players. The Buccaneers is my answer.
Mo?
I think for me, it's going to be the Falcons. I'm just intrigued by the whole situation with Cousins. The idea of what they did in the draft when everybody know they needed to add an edge rusher and get more help on defense. I just think they could have done. I'm not killing them, but they could have done things in a completely different way. So I think Atlanta's going to be drama all year long.
Mo, how about the NFC North? The Lions, the Packers, the Vikings, and the Bears.
I think the Bears I'm most concerned with because I just think even though I like what they did in terms of adding weapons and setting Caleb Williams up for success, I think this talk about the Bears winning 10 or 11 games seems – I just think that's a reach. That's a reach. He's a talented rookie, but he's still a rookie. And while you've put all these players on the team and added more talent, it looks good on paper. And it might play well on Madden, but in real life, I think there's growing pains. So I don't think they're going to live up to those high expectations in year one.
Their offensive line still stinks too.
Yeah.
My concern in that division will be the Minnesota Vikings. I think they have JJ McCarthy walking into a situation where I don't think he's that good of a quarterback.
You are just killing the souls of Minnesota Viking fans, Gene.
Don't
I don't
tell
think he's good.
Cottrell that.
I think Cottrell kind of agrees with me. I think he landed in a spot where he's got Jettas and Hawkinson, so that will help them. I just don't know if the offensive coordinator is going to put him in the right position.
Gene, how about the NFC East? You know who's there.
It's Dallas. I mean, the most concerning thing is Dallas. They've lost the offseason. They've lost players. They have 3 guys that are saying, I need to get paid. It's Dallas. Easy.
Mo?
I think it's Dallas too. It's not that they just lost players. What did they bring back? And that O-line, you used to be one of the best O-lines in football. It's not that anymore. They don't have a running game. Like, I just think they're a team that's in disarray.
But Mo, they brought back Zeke. That's what the Cowboy fans are saying.
Yeah, and it's a great feel-good story, and I'm sure a lot of people are glad that Zeke's back, and I'm sure Zeke's probably going to have a 700-yard season and 8 touchdowns or something like that.
Mo, how about the AFC West? Chiefs, Raiders, Broncos, and Chargers.
I'm concerned about the Chargers, and I'm a big Jim Harbaugh fan, but they're hamstrung money-wise. They got the quarterback already. They got the coach. We always talk about that, marry the quarterback and the coach. I love that, but I don't know where they go going forward. Like, what weapons are you going to have on the outside? What is your run game going to look like? I just think there's more questions than answers right now. But that said, I'm a Jim Harbaugh guy. He'll find a way. I just think they have a lot of questions going into the season.
Mine's the Raiders. I think that the GM and the head coach aren't on the same page. And what they're doing there is they're setting Antonio Pierce up to be a 1-year coach. They're going to fire him after the year, and they're going to tank this year with the roster. Come on, all the holes on that team, and you went out and drafted Brock Bowers. I love Brock Bowers, but Michael Mayer was drafted last year. He was last year's number 2 tight end. He was last year's tight end of the year in college football. They drafted him last year. Oh, we'll take Brock Bowers too. You have no other holes on that team, huh?
Gene, there's an issue when the head coach is reaching out to the person they didn't draft to apologize for not drafting him. Like, something is weird when that's happening. And then the team's like, no, we didn't flip a coin. There was no coin flip in the what?
Wow.
It's the Raiders.
Conversations that never happened in the Kansas City war room. Gene, let's talk about the AFC South, the Texans, the Jags, the Colts, and the Titans.
So the team that's most concerning here is the Titans. They put all their eggs in the Will Levis basket, and they went out and got
so fast.
And I just don't know if they have the team. I don't know if he's the guy. I watched him in Kentucky. He's a very poor decision maker. They went out and got a new coach, so he's going to learn a new offense this year after the one he just learned last year. I don't like what Tennessee's doing. I do like what Callahan did in the draft, but you have too many eggs in the Will Levis basket.
I'm going Tennessee as well. Everything I've seen when I've watched Levis, he could be the guy. I just don't see it. And then I look at that receiving core. It looks good on paper, but is D-Hop the same player that he was before? I'm just saying they look better on paper to me than it's going to play out on the field. I don't think Tennessee is going to be very good this season.
That receiving core is what you do after your first season in Madden. You go to free agency and you're like, all right, let me just take the two highest rated guys in free agency in Madden right now. I'm just going to put them on the team because they're the best options out there. That's what that wide receiver core is, guys.
Yeah, but see, on Madden, you know what you do on Madden, though? When you get them, you trade them for picks or something like that on Madden. You don't keep them. You trade them.
I mean, they have first-round wide receiver and Treylon Burks. They have Calvin Ridley, who, in my eyes, had a very subpar year for Jacksonville. DeAndre Hopkins, who's aging, and Tyler Boyd, who's a slot receiver. You have 4 wide receivers, but it's just like, where did these puzzle pieces go?
Right, exactly. Mo, AFC North, Ravens, Browns, Steelers, and Bengals.
I think we already talked about the Bengals, but I'm going to go Steelers because I'm with you when you talk about the defense. I'm even with you if you say the offense doesn't have to be great. But I think you have to have a quarterback. You know the line, if you got 2 quarterbacks, you don't have 1 quarterback. I think they have to make a decision, and if they make it early, and I know they'll say, well, they'll come down to if Russ gets off to a slow start or whatever. I think that Justin Fields has an opportunity in during preseason to outplay Russell Wilson and win that job. And if he does, I think the Steelers' offense as a whole will elevate. So, but if Russ is going to start, if you get the Russell Wilson that was on Denver last year, I don't think that's good enough in this division.
It's the Bengals. It's the Bengals. It's the Bengals. And I hate beating a dead horse, but that team's got so many questions and not enough answers. I love Joe Burrow. I really do. I think everybody in the league does. But, man, I just not a fan of their front office.
And then last but not least, Gene, the AFC East.
So this is interesting, right? Obviously, the low-hanging fruit's the Patriots, but I don't think anyone thinks that they're going to be good. My biggest concern in this division is the Buffalo Bills. And it's because you replaced Stephon Diggs with Keon Coleman. Like, I just don't know what production you're going to get out of receiving court. Now, let me just be clear. This could be setting up for Josh Allen's greatest season, where he's not forcing the ball to Stephon Diggs and he's throwing the ball to the open receiver no matter where they're at. But it also could be setting up for a really bad season where he does not have that safety blanket. I think Dalton Kincaid comes into his own this year, and I think they'll have a good year, but they're concerning.
Kincaid's a stud.
I love him.
Mo?
I'll go Buffalo. I think Gene brings up a great point. This could be a great year for Josh Allen. But on the flip side, if nobody can beat one-on-one coverage, then you really can't rely on the run game either. People are going to be walking up 8 and 9 men in the box. So I think the offense can struggle this season. I think that's going to be a big problem for them. At some point, you're going to have guys to be able to beat one-on-one coverage.
Gene, what's going on with wire-to-wire sports tonight?
Oh, I don't know if you guys seen the land of the U.S. Open, but we're going to talk about the U.S. Open. That's crazy. Drop a ball in the green, it rolls 50 feet away from the green. We're going to talk about the U.S. Open. We got to beat the dead horse of Caitlin Clark because that's the national topic. But we're going to talk about NBA Finals, man. That's what I'm excited for. And then MLB kind of trade deadline, what teams will be picking up where.
All right, Gene. Always a pleasure having you. Thanks for stopping on today.
Love you guys. Appreciate y'all.
All right, Mo, the last thing we have before we get out of here, I know how big of a fan you are of competitive eating contests. I know you follow them religiously. I know you're that guy. So I know you were probably heartbroken yesterday when you found out that Joey Chestnut has been banned from the Nathan's hot dog eating competition because of his endorsement deal with Impossible Foods. Apparently, Impossible Foods is a rival. I know we're getting deep into this, Bo. Impossible Foods is a rival. It's a competition with Nathan's Hot Dogs. So Nathan's Hot Dogs said, listen, if you got a deal with Impossible Foods, you ain't showing up to our Nathan's Hot Dog eating competition. Sorry, Chestnut. Go eat the dogs somewhere else. It won't be here with us. Mo, that is a 4th of July tradition that we are not going to see this year.
Man, I'm heartbroken that I'm not going to see that disgusting display of people stuffing themselves with hot dogs and then chugging down
And
water to
put
make
them
it
in
go
the
down.
water.
Yeah,
Ugh.
soak their hot dogs and soften it up. And
Oh.
yeah, I'm really all busted up. I'm not going to get to see that. I think it's kind of a funny story. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. The Impossible Foods, that's the brand that they make different things that are meat-like, but it's plant-based. It's all plant-based stuff,
Correct.
right?
It's not meat.
So yeah, so I think that's hilarious unto itself because Joey Chestnut clearly made his name at the Nathan Hot Dogs, and now a competitive eater has been banned. That's funny to me. That's funny stuff.
Mo, take us to the end.
Thank you guys for joining Chris and I this morning. Make sure you check out all the great content we have at Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network, we appreciate you.
Make sure you join us same time, same place tomorrow. JG will be back up on the screen to talk Major League Baseball. We're also going to talk the fallout of Game 3 of the NBA Finals. All of that and more. Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show, powered by Wire.